Welcome to Odds.com's NCAA football opening line show. Happy Monday, November 16th to all of you. Thank you guys for joining us. We're coming off a very successful week. I ended up 16-8 plus 7.1 units, which had me pumping my fist. Real easy spots that we took advantage of. I was just talking to Nolly about that San Diego State spot was just so easy. A nice little triple up there. First half full game. And the under. It felt very good. You guys are experts that are here on the panel. Nolly Knows, John Ryan, and CMac. You guys came so close to sweeping your Maction best bets, and Nolly losing on Toledo, a plus 120 money line like that was heartbreak. Up 10 points with 2.5 minutes left. When they missed the convert, I was like, oh, thank God. But, man, that's Maction for you. Still great work by you guys. That is that 2 weeks straight that you've beat up the Mac on the 2 days that we get to do it. And we're going to start with Maction. First off, how you guys doing? Nolly, how you doing, my man?
Doing all right, Jimmy. You had mentioned that game that was brutal. You know, it felt like they snatched it away. Toledo went to that prevent. They prevented us from cashing the ticket. You know, that's what happened. They got us, but nonetheless, it was okay weekend for me. Okay Saturday, up and down. Nothing to complain about. Hopefully, we can do a little bit better this week, though.
Yes. Well, you're still having a strong season, and you were on a plus 120 money line there, so there's nothing wrong with going out like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like that. CMac, my man, how you doing on this Monday?
I'm doing good. Ready to rock and roll. Saturday was good. Really good Saturday. You know, Sunday, put it in the rearview mirror. Let's roll.
Yeah, Sunday I gave back a lot of the Saturday glory, but it was nice to have Saturday glory. John Ryan, how you doing on this Monday afternoon?
I'm doing just as good as you guys are doing, I guess. Went 5-2 for the weekend and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, so do I. It was a lot of fun, a very, very fun Saturday, and I'm ready to attack again. Gio Mercedes in the house. We got Guillermo Zertucci, Captain Marvel as well. Thank you guys all for joining us. Guillermo Zertucci, Captain Marvel. Dennis Garcia here in the house. We got Hippo Craze. Says nothing better than being in class and watching the show. Hippo Craze. This is your other class, the most important one. Thank you for joining us, my man. The Czar in the house. Sean Dozier, ready to go. Hawkeye Hustler. Diehard MMA podcast. There's Clint. Clint has his big Monday night podcast every week, the Diehard MMA podcast that's here on odds.com, and won't be able to watch his beloved Vikings on Monday Night Football because of it. Clint, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about you when I bet the Bears. But I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. There is Von Polo in the house. We got Viper and B ready to work. Okay, so this is how the show goes. We, as always, on Monday, we're going to break down every single midweek game, and then we have our experts give us best bets for Saturday. So we have 8 best bets. One of the best bets was given by both guys. Now, I don't know what side they're on, but the game they both gave on, and I love that stuff. I think that's very exciting. So let's get to work right now. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let's go. We're going to start with a little Tuesday action. Buffalo Bulls at Bowling Green Falcons. 7 p.m. Eastern. It starts. Bowling Green, Ohio, 34 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, and for some reason I put the Fahrenheit twice and not the wind. So I will grab you the wind there. Let's get to work. The Tuesday night is kind of tricky. We have huge favorites. So Buffalo, best bet from John Ryan last week was an easy casher. Our 31.5 point favorites. This total opened at 61 at Bet365. It's now sitting at 60.5. Buffalo has opened up the season with wins in dominant fashion. 49-30 at Northern Illinois, and last week they won 42-10 at home to Miami of Ohio. Then Treese threw for 353 yards, 4 TDs against Miami. The junior didn't look so good in week 1, looked good in week 2. Running backs, Jared Patterson, we know everything goes through him. And now he's got Kevin Marks. So now they have a 1-2 punch on the ground, and they look very good. Their defense has been overpowering. They're allowing 327.5 yards per game, forcing 6 turnovers. Buffalo beat Bowling Green 49-7 last year. Buffalo has covered 5 straight games. Bowling Green followed up its season-opening 38-3 loss at Toledo with a 62-24 loss at home to Kent State. We were interested in what the Boston College quarterback transfer Matt McDonald was going to do, and he's been awful. 14 of 50. He's completed 14 passes in 2 games, 233 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They have been able to move the ball on the ground. They're averaging 4.9 yards per carry with running backs Terrion Smith and Trevor Raymore. They have allowed an average of 50 points a game. They've allowed an average of 595.5 yards per game. They are 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games against Buffalo. Why don't we start with John Ryan? Get us started with a little action. Buffalo, Bowling Green.
Well, you guys know I'm bullish on the Bulls through the first 2 weeks of this season, and double-digit favorites. Just to recap what I said last week in the MAC, are moneymakers. They're 5-1 already this season. They're 19-6 with 2 pushes for 76% winners in 2019, 17-11 for 61% in 2018. And that's just blindly taking double-digit favorites. So now favorites of 14 or more, 4-1 this year, 14-6 in 2019, and 11-6 in 2018. So not quite as high a percentage, but still very, very good. So needless to say, Buffalo on paper here is going to make an ugly game of this. The machine learning tools that I run show Bowling Green not even getting to 200 yards of total offense. Slightly over 120 in passing, as Jimmy alluded to their quarterback issues. And this is just a mismatch that is unprecedented. I've never seen a matchup that is this, what's the word? Polarizing. I mean, it's a very, very good team against a struggling team. Bowling Green's 1-13 the last 3 years against the spread when they've given up 500 or more yards. They're 0-14 the last 3 years when they've given up 6.5 or more yards per play. And all these metrics on the machine learning have very high probabilities of occurring. So I am not one to recommend hardly ever in 26 years of betting on a favorite of this much. But I think you got an opportunity here to do just exactly that. So I'm on the Bulls. Surprise, surprise.
The Bulls, it will be your 3rd straight week on the Bulls. You've started 2-0. CMac, what are you going to do with this 31-point favorite?
Yeah, I agree with John Ryan. And the other game, I don't really like laying that much with Kent State, even though I think they cover that. Out of the 2 big ones here, I think 30 is not that big. I mean, I think they win here 50-10. So I'm willing to lay, it's not 35 or something like that. So I'm willing to lay the 31 here with the Bulls.
Nolly Knows, I know you love focusing on totals. I mean, the handle sides as well, but you love focusing on totals. What do you think of this total at 60-60.5? And are you also going to make a move on Buffalo?
I mean, as far as the total, you got to see if whether or not Buffalo is going to be the team to run it up. I mean, I have to agree with John Ryan. I mean, there's no other way of looking at this game. I mean, even laying 31 points sounds crazy, but Bowling Green has lost by an average of 36.5 points in their first 2 games. And you talk about the strong suits for Buffalo is running the ball. They were 10th last year in the nation running the ball. This year, they've got a guy number 4 in the nation and number 10 in the nation running the ball. And Bowling Green can't stop it. They've given up over 300 yards rushing. And what I saw out of Buffalo was last week, the way they were able to shut down Miami of Ohio. You look at passing, they gave up 8 of 26 for just 119 yards. And here going against Bowling Green is Matt McDonald, who's been awful. He's 6 of 20 last week for 105 yards, 8 of 30 for 128 yards and 2 interceptions previous game. I mean, no other way to look at it than Buffalo. Do they get the 61? I don't think so. I mean, the only way maybe to look at Buffalo and the under, which is crazy to say, but I mean, I don't see Bowling Green scoring much here. I don't know if I'll be getting involved. Maybe a Buffalo, maybe first half. I think they come out strong and heavy and blow this team out. Bowling Green is bad.
Yeah. Bowling Green is bad. Luis Lopez said will be safer bet playing first halves for Buffalo and Kent State. I got burnt badly on the Buccaneers in that situation yesterday. And Joe Yurkovich, capped with me since I started doing it all publicly. Greg Capper, he was like, why are you taking first quarter, first half when you could take the full game? Just give the better team the longer amount of time to take over. I thought my biggest edge was early, and that makes me a little gun shy to move on the first half. John, what do you think? A first half? I mean, I'm guessing that if it's 31.5, the first half's got to be 17.5 minimum, probably up to 20.
I've agreed with what you just said. I'm not a big first half player. I'm not a big first half totals player, but what I'm becoming is a pretty good live bettor. The best example this past weekend off the top of my head was the Penn State game, where I actually got 17.5 and Penn State when they were down 24-3, and that covered. So my point is, why make all your prediction before the game starts? Leave some powder, for when the game starts. That if you like a team or you like the under, and the opponent gets off to a faster start than what was expected, you benefit from it. You're averaging a line that's better than anything you would ever get during the week.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say is I think write this down, Jimmy, because I want to check this next week because this is pretty fascinating. The machine learning says that Buffalo will run twice as many plays. So let's see if that comes to fruition. That's hard to believe, but let's see what happens.
There we go. Very interesting. And Dennis Garcia is saying Bowling Green implied team total is 14.5-ish. Anyone think they're going to score 2 TDs? And the answer would be no. Are saying first half better for college. I mean, we've seen the first half scash for Alabama over and over and over again. The concern here is that will the Bulls be as focused? I think going on the road probably helps their focus. If this is at home, they might be a little sloppy. All right, that's the first game of match. And let's move on to the second game. Akron zips 0-2 in the MAC at Kent State Golden Flashes. At Kent, Ohio, 33 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 9 miles per hour is the wind. Akron opened up their season with an ugly 58-13 loss at home to Western Michigan. They followed it up with their 19th straight setback, but it was much better. 24-17 loss at Ohio. The number right now, Kent State opening up at 24. That's where we stand right now. This total opening up at 59. At Bet365, it's now at 59.5. It was a very interesting loss and something that can give them hope moving forward. They out-yarded Ohio 435-307. They outgained them by 128 yards. They had 20 first downs, only allowed 15. They held the ball for 10 more minutes than Ohio. Their defense has been much stronger than expected. They've allowed 395.5 yards per game. They're rushing for 173.5 yards per game. Zach Gibson, 36 of 60, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks this season. Kent State followed up their season-opening 27-23 win at home over Eastern Michigan with the 62-24 blowout at Bowling Green. Our Connor Mack was on Kent in that game. Kent State put up 667 yards of total offense against Bowling Green. Dustin Crum has completed 39 of 56 for 490 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick this year, and they have a 3-headed monster on the ground with Bradford, Cooper, and Williams. Akron run defense is a weak spot. They've allowed 201.5 yards per game on the ground, and Kent State can take advantage of that. Let's go to CMac. You cashed on Kent State at Bowling Green. Are you going back to the well against Akron?
I don't know. It's a lot here. I think Kent State is the side. Like you said, the Zips can't stop anybody. Their run defense is horrible. And Kent State's really good at home, following big wins against the spread. They got great numbers. 24.5's high. Akron will get better, like I said, as the year goes on. I don't know if I want to lay 24.5, but that'd be the only way to look here. I don't know if I could take Akron right now early in the season. Like you said, with Crum and those running backs, I think they just wear down the Zips here as the game goes on. And the 20, it's just a big number. So I'm already laying that other one with Buffalo. I think Bowling Green's really bad. The Zips maybe a little better, but only way to look would take the big favorite here.
What do you think, CMac, if they're going to run the ball down Akron's throat? Akron is showing pretty strong defense other than their run defense. Do you think that the under is available here at 60 or 59.5?
Yeah, I don't see Akron scoring much. But I don't like it. I don't love it. I just don't love it. I think it's, as we talked about that, the other 60 in the Bowling Green, the 61, 59.5, I'll pass.
Hippo Cray saying Kent State went hurry up for the entire first half last week. Let's go over to Nolly Knows here. Akron Zips, Kent State Golden Flashes. What do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Akron, you look at their head coach, Tom Marr, second year over there, still looking for his first win. It's pretty horrible to say. They've been a pretty bad team, but this year they've shown some signs of life. They've been able to run the ball significantly better, averaging 173 yards rushing. And I think that's going to be the focal point and should be the focal point going forward. And you mentioned it the way Kent State, they're looking to run the ball. They're running the ball 52 times a game. That's where their strong suit is. Albeit Crum has looked good, 6 touchdowns, just 1 interception, got a high completion percentage, and they do run at a higher rate. They're running 85.5 plays per game, one of the highest in college football. But here, going against Akron, the way they're going to try to attack, way Akron is going to try to attack is to try to slow down the tempo. I believe that the total is a little bit high. When you look at their previous 2 matchups going into this game, last year the total set is 56.5. The game ends 26-3, 17-3 at half. The year prior also stays under the total set at just 49. I think there's a look at the under. I haven't pulled the trigger, but that's the way I'm looking at this game.
Looking towards the under. John Ryan, Akron, Kent State. Take it away.
Well, you highlighted the positive change on the sidelines, and even in the press conference after the game, Coach Arth was saying that it's the most positive environment that has occurred for Akron since he's been there, which I think is 2017. It also marked the first time Akron had a 100-yard rusher, Dollard rushed for 118. It was more than 100. And that was the first time since 2017 that any Akron Zip rushed for 100. But in watching the condensed version of this game, I was really impressed late in the game where Akron, time and time again, would panic. Oh my God, the game's getting away from us, and then it would just explode into an implosion. This time, though, they were in this game all the way to the end, except their quarterback threw 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter, and it gave Ohio a short field to operate in. Both times the defense stood up, and Ohio came away with 2 field goals, which kept the team in the game. And I think those are the type of things that we had discussed before the season even began for the MAC, that we really don't know who Akron is. We don't know really who any of these teams are. But now we have a little bit of a clue with Akron. And I would be tempted to take the points with Akron, but I think the under, from what Nolly was saying, I think that's the way to play this game, because I think Akron's defense is going to continue to get better and better. So with that said, you can't really look at season-to-date stats with Akron, because if they are on a positive trend, they're not going to be all that meaningful. So I like the under here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Big Ragu, DJ, Big Boss, the stars of our Saturday show are here in our chat. Ragu says, I think Akron can stay in the number with run and play a little better D than Kent saw last week. And I agree with that. The only fear is how often will Kent go into the hurry up. And I do think that Akron is alive. And you get that feeling when you have a guy like CMac who cashed so easily on Kent last week, not going back to the well there. I'm interested in Akron, and I'm interested in the under. Okay, let's keep rolling. That's our Tuesday night action. We're going to move into Wednesday night action. Miami of Ohio has been canceled due to COVID. Let's move on to Wednesday's action. 7 p.m. Eastern, Northern Illinois Huskies 0-2 in the MAC, going up at Ball State. Cardinals 1-1 in the MAC. Muncie, Indiana, 41 Fahrenheit, clear, 10 miles per hour is the win. Ball State opening up as 14-point favorites. That's now moved to 15 at some books. This total high at 62 or 62.5. NIU opened their season with a 49-30 loss at home to a very tough Buffalo squad. It was pretty good. They followed that up with an awful 40-10 home loss to Central Michigan. The Chips, if you follow us on Twitter, you will know that CMac put out a move on Central Michigan before that game went off, and that was an easy cash for CMac. Ross Bowers has not looked good. 33 of 60, 341 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The Huskies had covered 6 straight games after an against-the-spread loss before the Chips beat them badly last week. Ball State followed up their season opening 38-31 loss at Miami of Ohio with a come-from-behind 38-31 win at home over Eastern Michigan. I was on Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan was in control for a lot of that game until late. Their defense let them down. Running back Caleb Huntley is a beast for Ball State. He rushed 55 times for 334 yards, 5 TDs through 2 games. That's opened up the passing game for Plitt. Drew Plitt, 41-63, 541 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ball State is 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 home games. Let's start with Nolly Knows. NIU. I know you've used them often over the last few years, but this is a very different team with all these freshmen. How are you handling this spot, Nolly?
I mean, you said it, Jimmy. It's a completely different team. They're young, and you can see it. You can see it with their size outside and in the trenches as well. They've been getting beat up. But is Ball State going to be able to cover the 14 with the defense that they've shown? You know, they continue to show the inability to stop anybody. They're giving up over 450 yards a game total, 269 through the air. They're giving it up both ways. In this game, the way that they've been going at it, they've been going under. And even Ball State, you see last week, they're still, I mean, with Eastern Michigan, they were going back and forth, but this is a Northern Illinois offense that I didn't like a lot of what I saw. The game was close. They played really good defense against Central Michigan for most of that game. They exploded in the second half, but I'd be looking at lean on the under here. But I mean, I don't really like the defense of Ball State, and I don't think they'll be able to cover the 14.
Yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So officially, is there going to be a move for you here, Nolly?
No, not a game I really like. Just all the youngsters on Northern Illinois, they're going to be making mistakes still. And then Ball State's defense, I hate being involved in those type of games.
Let's move over to John Ryan. NIU, Ball State, take it away.
Well, the betting lines imply a score of 38-24 in favor of Ball State. And I think Ball State, when I looked at this game earlier today, has the chance to dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage. And it seems to me, historically, when you have a team that's going to dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage in MAC competition, the game can get out of hand, and it ends up being a blowout. I don't have a move on this game, but I think anybody who likes Ball State right now is on the right side. The machine learning probabilities show that there's a good chance that they score more than 50 points by themselves in this matchup, emphasizing the game gets out of hand. Ball State is also 70-34 the last 10 years when scoring 28 or more, and we're talking about them scoring 38 or more. Ball State supported by a system where you bet against underdogs of 10 to 19.5 points after a game being outrushed by 125 or more yards in their last game. 63% the last 5 seasons, a lot of plays, 154 wins and 91 losses.
CMac, any move for you to make?
No, I think it's just too many points. If I got under 2 touchdowns with Ball State, maybe. I don't like laying. I mean, this is the MAC, but defenses that are that bad, laying that many points. Northern Illinois with the freshmen, Bowers is just inconsistent. He's throwing a lot of picks. They got some talented receivers, though, from some of the games I've watched. But I can't make a move here. Northern Illinois, even though we talked about all the freshmen on their team, they're 7-1 the last 8 against Ball State. And Northern Illinois has gone over 7 of the last 9 games, and Ball State's gone over its last 6. So these teams have been going over, which Nolly probably doesn't want to hear. But these are over. Points are being scored in their games, both teams.
Do you think because NIU's had Ball State's number in the past that Ball State might want to smash them in the mouth with all these freshmen on their team?
Yeah. I just think they, that defense that's so bad, I don't think it's a bad number, a little over 2 touchdowns. I just wanted less. If I could get less than 2 touchdowns, I'd be on it, and I missed it. So I'm off.
All right. Let's move on to Toledo Rockets at Eastern Michigan. Ypsilanti, Michigan, 35 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. The wind's at 10 miles per hour. Toledo opened up as 7-point favorites. That's gone to 6.5. And understandably so. Eastern Michigan just keeps covering. They covered for me last week, and everybody's onto them now. And I knew when this number came out that money would start coming in on Eastern Michigan. And I wonder if this is an angry Toledo squad that maybe ends this. Toledo opened up their season with an easy 38-3 home win over Bowling Green. Then they lost that heartbreaker 41-38 at Western Michigan. They're averaging 512.5 yards per game. Eli Peters, their QB, 50-78, 553 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's thrown just 1 pick. Running backs, Bryant Kobach, Shaquille Seymour. Those were the guys we were talking about before the year started. And now Micah Kelly. Now all 3 of them have rushed for over 100 yards so far. Kobach, also a very dangerous receiver. He's made 11 catches for 111 yards. Eastern Michigan has lost 2 tough road games to start the year. So they start the year with these 2 tough spots, and then they get to come home. This is a nice spot for them. They opened up their season with 27-23 loss to Kent State, followed up with 38-31 loss at Ball State. They covered the spread in both contests. They've been outgained by an average of 96 yards per game, and that's a lot after 2 games. Preston Hutchinson, 38 for 64, 491 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but they have difficulty moving the ball on the ground. Hutchinson leads the ground attack with just 88 yards, 28 carries. I know that they're darlings right now for everybody, Eastern Michigan, because they just seem to cover and cover and cover. But something tells me maybe I want to get in the way of them, even though this is a nice spot for them after 2 tough road games. Why don't we start with John Ryan, Toledo, Eastern Michigan?
Well, I think you're right, Jimmy. The one thing to look at is Eastern Michigan may be 0-2, but they've played a much difficult pair of opponents than their opponent this week. So with Toledo, they generally like to play a very, very fast-paced game. I mean, it's like watching the Lakers. They haven't really done that yet, but I think in this matchup, they could actually you could actually see them run upwards of the high 80s in terms of plays. And the fact that Eastern Michigan's 0-2 and a home dog is extraordinarily tempting because they're a little bit more seasoned, if you will, than Toledo is. But I think for this game, this is one I want to watch and analyze, learn from, and just like we started to do with Akron, we have a better clue for the next game that they play of what type of team they are and their strengths and weaknesses.
Let's go over to Nolly Knows. Your read on Toledo was absolutely right. It was heartbreak that they didn't handle the job here. What do you think of them at Eastern Michigan?
Yeah, Jimmy, I thought we were on the right side. I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. But they weren't able to close that game out, plain and simple. They weren't able to get stops when they needed it the most. I thought their defense was a little better than what they showed down the stretch. But when you look at a lot of the trends and a lot of stuff that what happens here, you mentioned it with Eastern Michigan, they're covering. You look against the spread more recently, they've been covering against the number. 6 of the last 8 they've covered. They've gone over the total. They've gone 5-1 in the last 6 against the spread. I'm sorry, where Toledo is complete opposite, 1-5 against the spread in the last 6. The totals keep going over. John Ryan alluded to that. They're pushing a pace of 85.5 plays per game. That's something that they've always looked to do, and they're going to look to do it through the ground. You look at last year in the matchup, they ran for 366 yards, and that still seems to be a weakness for this Eastern Michigan team, giving up 258 yards rushing per game. They're going to have a tough task trying to slow down Toledo. I think Toledo puts up points, but Eastern Michigan, they've been able to do it, albeit Preston Hutchinson, not a quarterback I'm too high on, hasn't looked too great, but they've been able to move the ball with him. I think you'll be able to see some points here in the game, and I think if you look most recently with the way that these teams go at it, I think you have to take the points. If I can grab a 7, I think you got to grab that, but if not, then maybe a look at the total going over.
Total going over. I think this Eastern Michigan glory ride, I'm going to get off. I'm not going to take Toledo, but I'm going to get off. Let's move on to Western Michigan. Oh, shit. Sorry. We haven't even got to CMac. CMac, my fault.
Hey.
Michigan.
I like Eastern Michigan. I had them last week. I think they're the team to take here, but I'm more with the over. I think this is high pace like you guys were talking about. And I think the number's pretty good. We got under 60. Right now it's 58.5. It's kind of one of the lower totals, which I think both these teams will score. Toledo, like Nolly said, was 1-6 their last road games. They're 1-7 against the spread on their last 7 road games. So they haven't covered in their last 7. So I take the points with Eastern Michigan. I know if they're the home dog, I'd rather be taking points than laying a bad team on the road the last few years with Toledo. So that's my look.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to make anything official here for me, just for my notes?
Yeah, definitely the over, and I'm probably going to take the points. I think it goes down. I don't think it goes back up to 7. I see 6.5s everywhere. Yeah, I'm going to probably take that over for sure, the 58.5.
Over and points, and the over was something that Nolly was very interested in. Let's move on to Western Michigan Broncos at Central Michigan Chippewas. Here we go. Central Michigan opens up as 2-point favorites. This total at 61.5, and CMac was on them in that beatdown last week. Mount Pleasant, Michigan, 36 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. Western Michigan opened their season with a 58-13 win at Akron. Followed it up with an incredible come-from-behind victory, 41-38 at home versus Toledo. Caleb Ellaby looking very good. 32 of 45, 546 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Dwayne Eskridge, his favorite target, leads the Broncos, 10 catches, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. Western Michigan is 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 road games, 4-0 against the spread last 4 games against Central Michigan. So they've covered 4 straight in this big rivalry. Central Michigan opened the season with 30-27 win at home versus Ohio, then followed that up with a 40-10 beatdown of NIU. Daniel Richardson, 36 of 60, 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Central Michigan's defense has looked very tough. Through 2 games, they're allowing just 294.5 yards per game, just 18.5 points per game. And Central Michigan, 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 home games. Let's go back to CMac. You had Central Michigan last week. Do you go back to the well?
I'm going to wait on this one. I'm going to really dig way deeper in this game. I think Western Michigan's got a shot here. That's why the number's so low. They can throw the ball around, and I think they will a little bit on Central. But I like Central Michigan. I think they're a pretty sound team. They'll be at home. And it's a short number at 2. And I lean a little bit on the over here, but don't love it. So give me some time on this one. I think Central at home laying the 2 is where to go, but I'm just not loving it right now. I really got to look into this harder.
John Ryan, Western Michigan, Central Michigan rivalry game.
Well, Western Michigan is returning only 6 offensive starters, and they've won the last 2 matchups with a strong running game, which is now graduated. And as Connor Mack alluded to, they can throw the ball around, and it's essentially because they have to learn to do that to be competitive in these games. Mm-hmm. Based on the power ratings, if they had those players back on, this game would be, more of a -6 number instead of closer to pick 'em. And then, as Connor said, it makes it tempting to take Western Michigan to take this game because it appears through the early action of the season that Central Michigan is the one that should be favored by 6. So I'm a pass on this, and I'll leave it up to Nolly Knows to give us some more intelligence.
Take it away, Nolly.
This Central Michigan team is on the up and up. They had a head coaching change. It's from 2018. They made a giant leap. They go from being 1-11, and then last year they end up going 8-4, looking real good here to start the year. And they've done it defensively. To be honest, only giving up 92 yards rushing per game so far. Offensively, they look good. I mean, I still won't be fooled by the 40 points that they put up against Northern Illinois. I watched that game closely. They struggled throughout the first half to move the ball, and if they do that here against Western Michigan, they'll be in for a long one. Western Michigan has been able to move the ball at ease throughout the season here, and they've been able to handle Central Michigan. They handled them last year, 31-15 game. I don't expect that type of ball game. I do expect a closer one, but in this game, I just don't think Central Michigan still has enough offensively to try to keep up here. I know Connor's leaning towards the over, but I'm liking the under here. You look at the last 2 games. Look last year, 62.5 the total set, 31-15 the total, 46 total points. More so what I'm looking at here, I think the total should be closer in the 50s, not in the 60s here. I'd lean towards the under. Not a move yet, but that's what I have circled here.
a lean towards the under for Nolly Knows. There you have it, with one MAC game postponed due to COVID. There is your 5 games from the MAC. So best bets from our panel of experts have gone 4-2 through 2 weeks of MACtion. Let's see what we have in store here. Best bet time, Tuesday, Wednesday, MACtion. These guys are 4-2 so far. Let's go. I see CMac and Nolly looking down, but John Ryan staring laser through me. John,
There it is, man.
John, I'm guessing it's, I won't, but I'm guessing you're going to go back to the well from last week, John. Best bet time. Who is it?
Well, it's not really going back to the well, but the team starts with the same first letter, B. So I'm going on Ball State this week as my best bet.
Ooh. I like that. I was thinking of making a move on Ball State, and I was a little. I was hesitant, and then I put a question mark beside it because CMac didn't back it. But Ball State at -14.
They should win there. I mean, they should. I'm just a little hesitant with the 2 touchdowns. That's all.
No, and that's totally fair. The part of the fun about capping is, you don't always see eye to eye with everybody. So there's nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it's part of the fun. We have a best bet on the board for John Ryan.
Yeah, this is a great game to do that live betting that I've been mentioning too. If you like the game, but you're kind of on the the not so confident side, like Connor Mack is versus my confidence, that's fine. Bet half your amount. See how the game goes in the first 5-7 minutes, and then if it goes against you, then get a better line.
No, and you do it live bet the MAC. It's wild. You can get wild rides, as you saw in the Toledo, Western Michigan.
It's like the NBA.
Bet that live.
Really
yeah.
It's like the NBA swings. No question.
No doubt. There we go. Ball State, best bet, John Ryan. Nolly Knows, best bet.
All right, you got to keep bringing up that Toledo game, huh? Okay.
No, I just meant the wildness of the end, not the.
I'm not saying anything, Nolly. I hope you remember that.
I got it. Yeah, I got you. And then for me, it's going to be the Akron Kent State under 59.5. I think what we've seen in Akron and their improvements, I think if they emphasize on those improvements, the game should stay under here. So under 59.5 for me. Under
59.5, Akron Kent State. We move over to CMac best bet from action.
I like both. I mean, both of mine. I like the over, that 58 in Toledo, Eastern Michigan. But as the best bet, I'll take Buffalo. I'll lay the wood here again. The -30.5 or 31.
-31. All right. 4-2 for the guys so far in best bet, Maction, Tuesday, Wednesday action. Great job. Okay, let's move on to Thursday. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. Odds.com. Every Monday we break down every single midweek game, and then we hear the best bets on Saturday from our experts. We go to Tulane Green Wave at number 25, Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Oh, John, cashing on Tulsa was nice, man. Down 24-7 at the half. I was watching that game, and it felt good. Mark,
yeah, it felt good. It came back.
We show no fear, John, and we get paid in full. God damn, it felt good. Let's talk about this spot here. Tulsa, now ranked 25th in the country, opening up as 4.5-point favorites at Bet365, quickly moves to 6. There's 6.5s on the board. Tulane Army played, and this was a spot where the market was on Army, and John said Tulane. And I'm very interested to hear your breakdown of this spot. Let's talk a little more about it. Tulane 5-4, 2-4 in the American. Tulsa 4-1, 4-0 in the American. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 70 Fahrenheit, sunny, 17 miles per hour will be the wind on Thursday night. Tulane coming off third straight win, 38-12 at home versus Army. Tulane averaging 36.7 points per game, 404.3 total yards per game. Michael Pratt, QB, 55.3% completion, 1,308 yards, 14 TDs, 4 interceptions. Tulane defensively is allowing an average of 27.6 points per game and 418 yards per game. They have covered 5 straight games. Tulsa coming off their 4th straight win, impressive come from behind 28-24 win at home over SMU. They were down 24-7 at the half. And the issue that I had in this game, and this will bite you and help you at times. And the thing for me, John, is Zach Smith, whose numbers aren't great. You can tell he's a leader and they love him on the sidelines, and he had a great game. 26-38, 325 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. He took a shot to the head where I was certain that he was going to have to, go in the tent and be done for the game. I was certain. And he lied face down for maybe 5 seconds. And then he got up and he didn't go to the sidelines. And at that point, I was like, you could see his team rallying. And where are the spotters? I couldn't believe that he wasn't going to get pulled from the game. And he put that team on his back, and then they ran. He's completed 61.5% of his passes, 1,249 yards, 10 TDs, 6 interceptions. It was a very good game for him last week. They have a very strong running back duo, Deneric Prince, 336 yards, 2 TDs. TK Wilkerson, 291 yards, 4 TDs. Their strong suit is their defense. We saw that in action on Saturday. They are holding their opponents to an average of 21.8 points per game, 370.2 total yards per game. You had such a great read on these two teams last week, John. What are you doing this week?
Well, the fact that I had a good read on both of them makes this week really cloudy.
Shit, they're saying it got canceled? They're saying Tulsa just got canceled. Oh, no. God, I was excited about this game. Is that facts?
Yeah, this would have been a better matchup than the SMU game. That's too bad.
I don't have it anywhere. But others do? Does anyone else? Yes, it's canceled.
I don't see it.
Oh, God. Okay. I don't have it anywhere, but everyone's saying it's canceled. Let's just see if it's on the board right now. Luis Lopez saying it's canceled as well. Let's just see if I can. I mean, if we can bet it, then obviously it's good to go.
I still show it on the board. At least the two that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I can bet it right now. So I hear what you guys are saying, but these books would have pulled it. Hippocrates says, I haven't heard anything. CT Bay says, believe it got canceled. Let's just, until, I don't want to skip it when I can still bet it. So let's keep rolling. Take it away, John. Sorry to interrupt that.
Well, I'll be brief with this. The play is to ride the horse that I think is Tulsa. You can't underestimate Tulane. They took care of Army in a big way. Tulsa's played a more difficult schedule by a modest amount over Tulane. Tulsa has that pounding, at least I think it's pounding ground attack. And to beat a team that's, a proficient offense like the Tulane Green Wave, that's the exact recipe. Dominate the time of possession, limit turnovers, run the ball. Old-fashioned football, and the kind that I really like. So I like Tulsa in this matchup quite a bit, and you can put me down for a bet on Tulsa. I'll probably go to the window later this week because of not because you announced that it was possibly canceled, but I think it's just a wise move to make your bets closer to game time, given the incredible rises we're seeing in the COVID cases. It's just not worth the risk because we don't know what's going to happen with that.
You went against the market in a bunch of spots this past week, John, with great success. And I followed a few of them. I followed that Louisville, Virginia under. I didn't follow this Tulsa under, which was a great call. But I did cash on this total here is at 54.5. Nolly, Tulsa's defense is for real. And they can turn it on like we saw on Saturday night. What are your plans here, Tulane, Tulsa?
I mean, this game's a little bit different than the ones previous, but I think the strength for Tulane is their running attack, but they go to the strength of Tulsa. They shut down the running attack. They're one of the top. I think they're top 30, 35, or 36th in rushing defense in the nation. They've done that well, and you've seen big time adjustments by their coaching staffs. You see against UCF and against SMU last week, only giving up field goals in the second half of the game, really shutting the teams down. The defense is the strength of this team. Hard to go against Tulane. What they've been doing, they've been rattling off. I think it's 5 in a row against the spread, 6 of the last 7 against the spread. But John Ryan mentioned it, against weaker opponents. They haven't been able to keep up against teams like Houston, SMU, and UCF. Their defense has been pretty weak, and where Tulsa's offense has sputtered a bit. But here in this game, I don't expect that to happen, and I'm going to agree completely with John Ryan here and take Tulsa here. I really like Tulsa in this spot.
Well, it's a 6 in my book right now, but it's going to be a 6.5 in a matter of minutes here. So those of you trying to get under the touchdown with Tulsa probably need to attack now. CMac, Tulane, Tulsa.
I'd lean Tulsa here in this game. Tulane, I like them at home a lot better. They don't play well on the road. I think they run it okay. I just like Tulsa under the touchdown, as you guys alluded to. And I think they have the better defense. Tulane's been playing well. They've gotten better as the year's gone on. I don't like them away from home. And I'll go with Zach Smith and the defense of Tulsa here and lay the -6.5. But I'm going to wait. I know we probably got to get it before it goes to 7, but with COVID, I'm going to wait. It's not a game I'm super ready to run to the window here. So.
And Nolly, are you going to stay off the total?
Yeah, I'll be off the total right now.
Let's move on to the 9 p.m. Eastern spot. Utah State Aggies 0-4 Mountain West. The Wyoming Cowboys 1-2, 1-2 in the Mountain West. Utah State coming off their 4th straight double-digit loss to start the year. 35-16 at home versus Fresno State. It's the 2nd week in a row we've seen them off to a good start. And we've seen the market move in the direction of Utah State 2 weeks in a row, and only to be screwed by this bad football team. Jason Shelley had another tough game, 9-24, 144 yards, but he came out of the game with no turnovers, which is big. Jalen Warren looked good. Running back Jalen Warren, 9 rushes for 136 yards. They were up 13-7 after the first. Wyoming was off last week because the Air Force had to cancel due to positive COVID tests. They were last seen 34-24 loss at Colorado State. Levi Williams, their quarterback, 44 of 80, 660 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Wyoming's rush defense is strong and can shut down the only thing that Utah can do well. Wyoming is allowing just 95.3 yards per game here on the ground. And they opened up as 19-point favorites. They're now at 20 and almost all the books. It's total at 47 or 47.5. I know you keep a very close eye on the Mountain West. Both you guys out west, both you guys, CMac and Nolly Knows. Nolly, let's start with you. Utah State, Wyoming. Take it away.
And you mentioned it, Jimmy, that offense, losing their quarterback, running back, receiver has been brutal for Utah State. They seem to start early. They may score in the first quarter and then completely disappear from then on out. You talked about it a little bit, just averaging 11.2 points per game. And here, going into a tough place to play in Laramie, facing a Wyoming team that typically handles business when they're at home. You see that's why they're a big favorite here. I'm not so sure that their offense is really capable of covering this type of number. But the one thing that I do see is a lean towards the under here. And more than a lean, I think I'm going to be making that a play. You talked about how Utah State, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. Wyoming only giving up 95.3 yards per game. And their inability to really produce very many points. I think Wyoming, the one thing that they know that they can do well, and they going into the season, they had no doubt about it, was run the ball. I think they'll be able to control the ball, control the pace, and I think the game stays under, even at this low total.
It's a beautiful night on Wednesday night in Laramie, Wyoming. 18-mile-per-hour winds, which will affect the throwing even more, but 46 Fahrenheit. So it starts getting cold on Friday and moving forward in that region, but not yet. CMac, I know you keep a very close eye on the Mountain West. What do you think here, Aggies, Cowboys?
I have to go with Wyoming. I mean, Utah State is bad. I hate laying a number like that with the Wyoming, And the total, I wish it was a little bit higher. I think Wyoming could put up, if they want, they could run all over and put 35, 42 easily themselves. And I lean the under as well. This is a tough one I'm going to think about, but definitely Wyoming, and I'd lean towards the under here for the side in the total.
Going to be backing Wyoming close to the under for CMac. John Ryan, take it away. Utah State, Wyoming.
Well, the line implies a 34-14 Wyoming win, which again is above that 28 pivot level that we like to talk about. Machine learning stuff says it's more likely that Wyoming is going to score 42 or more points. And in that situation, Wyoming is 20-2, not 22, but 20 wins, 2 losses against the spread over the last 10 seasons. So I'm definitely on the Wyoming side here. I don't know if this will be a play yet, despite it being 20-2. The main reason is that Utah State is a bad team, right? They've lost 4 in a row to the spread. The marketplace and human, as I like to call human betting behavior, is not caught up to how bad Utah State is, and that is a reason for concern for me. It's like watching a stock, just take a plunge, and every day you think, all right, well that's going to be the bottom, that's going to be the bottom, and then it just keeps going lower and lower and lower. And Utah State is kind of in that framework right now. You just don't know where the bottom is, and to try to pick a bottom with Utah State is. It's like standing on the railroad tracks for no reason at all. So later in the week, we'll, especially on the Saturday show, I'll clarify this game as if it is a Wyoming best bet or not.
And we saw the market move towards Utah State last week. Fresno State opened up as about 12.5, 13-point favorites. That went down to 10. And then, 24 hours before the game, Fresno State had buyback, got to about 11. But
Yo, Jimmy, I got to run for just 1 sec.
Okay.
At the door. Can you bounce me out? I'll be right back.
No problem. All right, let's move on to Friday action. 7 p.m. Syracuse at Louisville. Syracuse 1-7, 1-6 in the ACC. At Louisville 2-6, 1-6 in the ACC. What a disappointment Louisville has been this year. 18-point favorites, a high number for Louisville. The total sitting at 57. Louisville, Kentucky on Friday night, 7 p.m., 61 Fahrenheit, clear, 7 miles per hour is the win. Syracuse had last week off. They're coming off their 5th straight loss, 16-13 at home to Boston College. True freshman Jacobian Morgan started and was 19 of 30 for 188 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. It's unclear if Rex Culpepper will be back. It's possible that he's back. They have Tommy DeVito there too. They have 3 quarterbacks all doing a shitty job right now. Louisville coming off their 6th loss in 7 games, 31-17 at Virginia. As you guys know, Javian Hawkins, who was a huge piece to their puzzle, announced that he was opting out of the remainder of the season and would enter the NFL draft. He announced that on social media, and he missed last week's game. And rushing has been their strong suit, and it really still is, even without Hawkins. Malik Cunningham ran for 197 yards versus Virginia. Jalen Mitchell ran 7 times for 76 yards. Maurice Barkley ran 12 times for 44 yards. So it's still all they do is run the ball. Syracuse, Louisville, John Ryan, take it away.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Cunningham because that is they have tremendous depth. Louisville does at the running back position. So I'm not all that concerned about that going against the Syracuse run defense that sometimes appears to not have enough men on the field. So, I think Louisville rushes the ball for more than 250 yards. And as we know, it's common sense. You run the ball that much and have more than 45, say 50 rushing attempts included in that number, there's a strong likelihood you're going to win the ball game in a large way. So I think this is an opportunity where Louisville has been underperforming, but on paper is still a pretty good quality team. And I think you're getting them at a cheap price right now against it doesn't matter who's quarterbacking for the Orange. I'm sorry to say. I like to be positive about all the teams in America, but it's hard to paint a positive story with that defense as bad as it is.
Yeah, I wonder if the week off can – I don't know. They showed something in that loss to Boston College, but I hear you. And I wonder what the feeling is like now, knowing in the Louisville locker room, knowing that Hawkins isn't returning. Let's go over to Nolly Knows, Syracuse, Louisville.
I mean, I think you mentioned it a little bit, is the fact that Louisville's still been able to produce a lot of offensive yards. They just haven't been able to really be consistent and be able to put it in the end zone. When I look at a lot of these numbers and the total. So when I look at points for, points against, things of that nature, Syracuse inability to really produce points. And you look at Louisville, you see 27.9. I don't think it's really indicative of what their offense can really do. So it's like type of game that you might see an offensive explosion, like you mentioned. You see they exploded against Florida State, putting up 48 points against them, completely blowing them out, and a similar type of spread here. And type of game that I find very similar to that. And I would have to lean with Louisville here in this spot.
Wow. Sorry, big news from Christian Martinez 15 hours ago. 15 hours ago, Jason Shelley is dismissed from the team by Utah State for undisclosed violation of team rules. So Jason Shelley will not be starting in that game at Wyoming. That's another tricky thing. I always find when coaches make a statement like that, it can be something that helps a team very much. Wow, very, very, very interesting. And now I've got to do some extra study on that backup quarterback. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Christian Martinez. Surprised I wasn't able to pick that up. Syracuse, Louisville. So Nolly, anything official for you?
I don't know if I want to be backing still Louisville and then be laying those type of points. I was leaning towards the under, but like I said, these two type of teams match up, and all of a sudden it goes way over the total. I won't be involved at all here.
No involvement in Syracuse, Louisville. Okay, let's move on to the 7:30 p.m. spot. Purdue Boilermakers in Big Ten action at Minnesota Golden Gophers. John, that Minnesota team total under 27 was gorgeous. I just wish that I had also backed Iowa. Minnesota looks bad right now. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Purdue opening up as 3-point favorites in this total at 61. Purdue had their 3-game winning streak snapped in a 27-20 loss at home to Northwestern. John, you were on one last week because you also said that Northwestern was the play at 3.5, although I didn't pull the trigger on that. Aiden O'Connell was 28-51, 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but their ground game was completely shut down. 17 rushes for 2 yards. O'Connell rushed for minus 24 yards, so that was the reason for that crazy number. Minnesota coming off an embarrassing 35-7 home loss to Iowa. Tanner Morgan, another ugly game. 16-33, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I don't know how many more opportunities he is going to get. Let's start with you, John. Purdue, Minnesota.
Well, I like the over in this game. And I know that's another contrarian play here already. 2 struggling teams, 2 teams in disarray with no direction. At the same time, I know that Minnesota is 28-6 to the over when they're installed as a home dog over the years. It's over the last 10 years. And they are also, actually, I'll rephrase that. They're 22-6 as a home underdog of 7 or fewer points since 2000. That ties in both angles there that I was talking about. So there's a lot of support here, even though a college team gains 2 yards on the ground. Like how in the world can you play the over? But it's a contrarian play where I think if we look at the betting numbers right now, which I haven't, I would have to think that the overwhelming number is to the under because these two teams' recent performances. To me, when the price goes down and I like the over, it's just I'm just licking my chops on this one. So I'm going to watch this line because of that trend, and we'll see when we get to the weekend, where I can get the over at.
Yeah, I don't have the information yet on the total, but it seems like you're right. You're right. Yeah, the Capers.
For example, in the NFL, I mean, granted, NFL is not the NCAA, but it just popped in my head. Tampa Bay got their heads handed to them the week before, and then this week. You think, oh, boys, is it Tommy Brady? Is he too old? What's wrong? And look what they did. So when you have a team that has, Minnesota has talent on that offense. I can't understand why they're playing as bad as they are. It's like looking at Penn State. Minnesota actually has better talented wide receiver than Penn State. So, I think one of these games, they're just going to put it together and maybe they get mad enough to, take it out on somebody.
you don't fear Tanner Morgan back there? He looks terrible.
He does look terrible, but I also look at his complete resume. And it wasn't too long ago that he was, extraordinarily good. And when you have skills like that, and you go through a period like this, those players are used to winning. They don't go through periods like this hardly ever in their entire lives to this point. But this is the big world now. It's Division I football. NFL's next possibly for him, and it gets tougher. But then the reason that they're at this level is because of their skill set, their work ethic, and they don't want to, look like an idiot on the field any more than we want to make bad picks. So, that for that reason alone, and that has nothing to do with machine learning. It's just kind of my old man experience that makes me want to take the over in this game.
I like it. Let's see what Nolly Knows has to say. Purdue, Minnesota, Big Ten.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a contrarian play in my opinion. With Purdue, I mean, I've been riding their unders this season, albeit more so. I mean, I took 2 out of 3 of their games against Iowa and Northwestern, but a culmination of being against those opponents. And here against Minnesota, a much different opponent here, a team that's been giving up quite a bit of yards. You're talking 446 total yards of defense on defense, and a lot of yards rushing, albeit Purdue hasn't been able to get it going through the ground, only 61 yards rushing, but they've been passing quite a bit. And if they can get the ball rolling against Minnesota, I mean, they're a defense in Purdue itself that hasn't been able to stop anybody either, giving up over 400 yards themselves. Initially, I'll tell you, I was looking at the under, but what scares me is the Minnesota defense, and I see what Michigan was able to do against them. I see what Maryland was able to do against them, and that just scares me off of this. So ultimately, I'll just be off of this game.
Okay, let's move on to the 8 p.m. UMass Minutemen 0-2 at Florida Atlantic Owls 4-1. Boca Raton, Florida, 75 Fahrenheit clear, 17 miles per hour. It is windy. UMass coming off their second straight blowout loss to start the season, 51-10 at Marshall. They've now been outscored 92-10 through 2 games. Florida Atlantic opening up as 30-point favorites. That's moved to 32-point favorites. UMass quarterback Will Kosh is just 12 of 18, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. They average just 190.5 yards per game on offense while allowing 465.5 yards per game. FAU coming off their third straight win, 38-19 at FIU. Dual threat quarterback Javian Posey was 10 of 16, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, and ran 18 times for 182 yards. The Owls have covered 4 of 5 games this year. Florida Atlantic, you've used them often throughout the year. Nolly Knows. What are you thinking here? UMass, Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, I've used them often, and I don't know if I'll be doing it again, but I think I might be trying to still jump on the trend. They've been staying under by quite a bit. Last week it got me. I will say John Ryan did mention that with some of his analysis. But here against UMass hasn't been able to produce anything. You talked about the quarterback, 114 yards passing through the air, but it's the same thing that Florida Atlantic has been doing. But Florida Atlantic has been able to get it going through the ground, and that's something that UMass hasn't been able to stop, giving up over 288 yards a game. That's something that I expect to continue here. The number is 32 going up for Florida Atlantic, and I expect them to really put up whatever they want here. I'm still looking at the total. I don't believe that their offense is as good as Marshall to be putting up 50 points here. I don't expect to see that, and I expect UMass to be 10 or less. I still may be looking at the under. I haven't pulled it, but I think that's the only way to look for me.
The under possibly jumping on to Nolly's card. John Ryan, UMass, Florida Atlantic.
Well, I think, guys, and when I saw this line at 31, the first thing that entered my mind was, holy mackerel, this is Florida Atlantic? Who are they playing? And then I thought, how many times has Florida Atlantic been favored by 30 points in any game ever? Well, the answer over the last 10 years is they've been favored 3 times. This is the 3rd time they've been favored by 31 or more. And if, in the chat room, I'm sure you want to know that Alabama actually is the leader in this category with 36 games, which to me is mind-boggling. 36 games over the last 10 years have been favored by 31 or more.
Wow.
And the next closest is actually Oregon with 28, then Clemson 26, Ohio State 25, da-da-da-da-da. So, it's just amazing to be favored by 30 by any team. But you have to feel for Massachusetts. It's just, how do you, I love the game of football, and I would get out there and play if I lost 56-0 every single game. But it gets to be a point where it becomes really difficult to do. In this game, my power ratings have this game lined at 46. So, it's way off. But at the same time, I'll admit to everybody, I don't know if that 46 is even right, because I don't have enough data on Massachusetts this year, unless I include the last 3 years. So I think it's a game we just, gloss over and realize that Alabama has had 38 games being favored by 31 or more points.
Great stats. I love it. Are you going to pull the trigger?
No, I'm going to watch this game, Jimmy. It's just too, again, like I always say, I don't want to put any team down, because I did that once this year with Michigan State, saying that they sucked, and then the next week they beat Michigan. So I try to be nice to everybody over the years, and I can't put my good money on a team like Massachusetts, or the other way around and lose to a team like Massachusetts. I just can't do it.
No, I hear you. There's lots of opportunities in college football. No need to force anything. The final midweek game we have is New Mexico Air Force. New Mexico 0-3 in Mountain West. Air Force 1-2, 0-2 in the Mountain West. Air Force Academy, Colorado, 41 Fahrenheit clear, 6 miles per hour on Friday night. New Mexico coming off their third straight loss to start the year, 27-20 at home versus Nevada. They look better. They open up as 10-point dogs, quickly move to 7-point dogs. The Lobos can be beaten through the air. They are allowing 34.7 points per game and 410.3 yards of the 491.3 yards. So 410 out of 491 that they allow comes through the air. And Air Force can't do that. They can't beat them through the air. They only throw for 67.3 yards per game. They had to cancel last week's game due to positive COVID tests. We last saw them losing their second straight game, 49-30 at home versus Boise State. I want this. It sucks that it's down to 7, and I understand why. Air Force just can't beat them through the air. This to me seems like a great spot for New Mexico to as a big dog here. John Ryan, what do you think of this spot, Mountain West?
Yep, on the initial power ratings, we would have New Mexico. Air Force favored by 17.
Wow.
But then when you adjust for the lack of passing, which is New Mexico's weakness, we see in the marketplace that we're at 10. And that's exactly right, Jimmy. The lean right away here is on New Mexico. I like the under better, though. And it's backed by a system here that's gone 67% winners over the last 5 seasons. You're basically betting under with a total between 49 and 56. With both teams coming off games where they allowed 9 or more passing yards per attempt. So both teams coming off a bad defensive effort, again, contrarian. And that's it. The total has to be between 49 and 56. So I like the under. You can put me down for that.
The under for John Ryan. Speaking Nolly knows his language. Nolly, what do you think of the under here?
Yeah, I don't have that type of system to tell me that, but when I look at some of the numbers, when I look at Air Force, they're not really producing through the air, but they only attempt about 11 passes per game. And but here against a New Mexico team that their focal point has been to stop the run, they're only giving up 81 yards rushing per game. I think that's a big thing that I look at when you talk about how Air Force is going to be able to move the ball. Their offense hasn't looked good through the season so far, dealing with the COVID issues. How much rhythm are they going to be in? But one concern for New Mexico is dealing with the shorter week, dealing with the triple option. Can they get it done? That is the one question mark for me. That's what ultimately keeps me off. But, I would agree. I would agree with the under, but not a move for me. Just that one question mark. And just thinking New Mexico and under is still difficult for me for me to lay that down. So I'll be off. I'll be off of this one.
Very interesting spot here to close up the Friday card. There is the midweek action from our cappers. Let's move on to Saturday. best bet Saturday time. We're going to start with 12 p.m. action, a game that our John Ryan has his eye on. Number 9th ranked Indiana Hoosiers, 4-0. 4-0 in the Big Ten. At number 3, Ohio State Buckeyes, 3-0, 3-0 in the Big Ten. Columbus, Ohio, 60 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. Ohio State opening up as 20.5-point favorites. This total opening up at 64 or 63, depending on where you shop. Indiana coming off their 4th straight win to start the year, 24-0 at Michigan State. We got on that. It was a John Ryan look, -7.5, and it was an easy casher. I wish I had doubled up. First half full game. Ohio State coming off their 3rd straight win to start the year, 49-27 at home versus Rutgers, but they smashed Rutgers. They're up. I don't have it in front of me. But I think it was 35-3 at the half, and then took their foot off the gas. So this is a fresh squad, as Ohio State didn't play last week. John Ryan, take it away. Indiana, Ohio State.
Well, you have to be impressed with the Cinderella story of Indiana, and I'm one of those type of guys that's the glass is half full all the time, and you want to see these stories continue. However, I think what will happen here is this is a tremendous step up in competition. We've seen Penn State, who was supposed to be a contender to beat Ohio State, fall apart. Michigan looks like they're going to lose their head coach here any day. And Ohio State's the only one that stands out in that division of the Big Ten right now. So the one play I can tell you that I like a lot is the over in the Ohio State first half points, which I had written down, but I don't have that piece of paper in front of me. But it should be, let's see, I'll do it in my head.
I think I can get it.
32, should be around 23.5, 24.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we get that line, I like that as a bet that I'm going to make probably pretty soon, because that line's going to not go down. The other thing too, if you like Indiana for the game, which would be my flavor right now, and we'll know more on Saturday when I clarify it on the show. You want to wait till game time, because even the pros are not going to be betting 10, 20 grand on Indiana now. The bigger money is going to come in on Ohio State because they're Ohio State. And what I see too is this is my experience playing sports a long time ago at a high level. Indiana's walking into Ohio State now, and my eyes can get pretty big while I'm doing these videos. But if you're Indiana and you're 4-0 and you're going against a big boy now on his turf, it's going to be a little intimidating even without fans in the stands. So I'm just wondering, Coach Allen is a tremendous motivator too, one of the best. So if any coach can, keep his team focused and not get too starry-eyed about where they're at, it would be him. So in summary, I'd like Indiana plus the points, whatever that ends up being, and it's going to be higher, and Ohio State first half points.
Very interesting breakdown. I like it. Nolly Knows, Big Ten matchup here on Saturday morning. What are you thinking?
I mean, I think he nailed it on the head when you talk about the step up in class. I mean, Indiana has looked good, and their defense has looked really good to start off the season, only giving up 19 points per game, rushing only 111 points, rushing yards per game. But here they got a tough task against Ohio State, and the Ohio State team has been able to put up as many points as they wanted to recently against anybody, and specifically here against Indiana. You look at, they blew them out last year, 51-10, 49 points the previous year, and getting over that number for John Ryan in the first half. I mean, I like the look. I expect Ohio State to come out and want to prove a point, want to prove that they are the top dog. And they're deep at a lot of different levels. And I agree with Ohio State. Not typically a game I get involved with too much with these high-profile games, but I mean, I agree. I like Ohio State. I like what they're doing. But I mean, I might ride along with John Ryan, but not a play for me right now.
Let's move on to a play that you want to make, Nolly Knows. Next up, a best bet spot for you on the board, also at 12 p.m. Eastern. Appalachian State Mountaineers, 6-1, 4-0 in the Sun Belt at number 15th ranked Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers, 7-0, 5-0 in the Sun Belt. Conway, South Carolina, 71 Fahrenheit, sunny, 4 miles per hour, beautiful weather. App State coming up their 5th straight win, but just barely squeaking by Georgia State at home, 17-13. No worries here. We were all on Georgia State last week, plus I think we got a 17.5 or 18.5. I can't remember exactly. App State, and it's good. I didn't need to remember because it was that easy. Minus 4.5 for Coastal Carolina with the total at 51. Coastal Carolina had last week's game postponed due to the Detroit Trojans coming down with multiple positive COVID cases. We last saw them in a 23-6 win at home over South Alabama, and we've all fallen in love with their freshman quarterback. Nolly Knows, App State, Coastal Carolina. What's your look?
Yeah, you mentioned it, Jimmy. Everybody's talking about Grayson McCall. He's been a great story, and some that they've been a great story as a team, though, as a complete team, really, with Coastal Carolina. This is pretty much for the Sun Belt. There's a conference that I follow pretty closely. And Appalachian State, this is a tough spot for them, being that their main guy, their quarterback, Zach Thomas, is questionable for the game. I'm really not sure if he's going to be able to go. He was grimacing in pain when he went down. It's kind of hard to tell what exactly happened, but he goes down, and albeit the backup, you got a senior backup, Jacob Huseman, hasn't really done too much. He did okay to be able to win the game for Georgia State, but they've been doing it by running the ball. They've had a revolving door at Appalachian State, and this year they've been running significantly more than years past. They're running an average of 47 times a game, and they've been relying on the defense. The defense has looked really good this year, only giving up 16.9 points per game. And that's where I'll be focusing mainly for me, myself, is going to be on the defense of this game and the type of matchup that we're going to have. This is basically for the conference, and I think it'll be the playoff type atmosphere. I look at the total right away. They set it at 50. I was able to grab that. And, I mean, I thought that I would see some action going on the over, being that people see these two teams and what they're able to do and put up points. But if you look at what they've been producing, Appalachian State on the year, 6-1 to the under. Coastal Carolina, 4-3 to the under, but have rattled off 4 in a row. And really their offense hasn't been as potent as you might think. I think it's a little bit more swayed to some of these blowouts and some of these lesser opponents that they faced. I think this is going to be a really hard-fought matchup, more so what we saw with Appalachian State going against Marshall when it was a 17-7 game. Maybe not that low scoring, but I expect it to be a very physical up front and one in the trenches. No matter who's at quarterback for Appalachian State, I like the under.
The under. Everybody in the chat here wanting Coastal Carolina. What's keeping you off the side, Nolly?
I would agree with Coastal Carolina, especially when we're talking about that. I mean, it's still going to be a battle. I think this game comes down to the last possession, and that's what I don't like. I don't think Coastal Carolina is running away with this game. This game is going to be a battle. I think both teams were looking ahead last week when you look at the totals of their games, with Appalachian State barely squeaking out a W. So I didn't want to get involved with the side. I just feel more comfortable with the total.
John Ryan, big Sun Belt affair, App State, Coastal Carolina. Take it away.
Well, I support Nolly on the under. I don't know if I'm going to cruise with them. It's very likely. It's another one I'm going to put down on my blotter here to clarify in Saturday's show. There's a system here that's 100 wins and 45 losses with 4 pushes. That comes out to a whopping 65% winners over the last 5 seasons. And you play under. Again, this is contrarian. And these are the ones this time of year that come up because you have enough games in place and it works. I can't say it works for this specific game, of course, but over the course of the season, it works. So you're going to play under with any team against a posted total that are excellent passing teams, both team and opponent, that are gaining 7.5 or more passing yards per attempt, and that's it. And you have to have 7 or more games in. 7 or more games in, 7.5 or more passing yards per attempt. Bet under.
We have unders, and at this point, it looks like the total is rising. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's just jumped out on the market. Let me see. When I refresh this, maybe that will help too if I give this a refresh. See if we get some added numbers here. Yeah. Nice. Oh, God, no. Sorry. I take that back. It's dropping fast. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong spot.
Must have been because we said it, Nolly.
This has dropped down to 48.5, Nolly.
Just like in the last 10 minutes or like
in the last hour.
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm still flirting with that. Still getting in that range, but I would still take it at 48.5. But I mean, I guess we got to do the shows earlier.
Wow, that's a fast move.
Keep our mouth shut.
And John, by the way,
we don't. Nobody has enough power to move a line.
In the last hour, John, you were right about that Purdue Minnesota total. That's climbing quickly. That's moved up to 61.5, like you expected. Wow, got to refresh a little more often. Okay, let's keep moving here. We have some looks that Connor wants to talk about, so I'm just going to save Connor's games until he comes back, if he comes back. If not, because one of them is Iowa, Penn State, that I know John wants to talk about as well. But it was a Connor best bet, so we'll wait and see if he can return. Something very quickly came up. Let's move on to another spot that Nolly's looking at. California Golden Bears 0-1 in the Pac-12 at Oregon State. Beavers 0-2 in the Pac-12. Corvallis, Oregon, chilly, 49 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 3 miles per hour. See what we are dealing with here from a market perspective in this Cal spot. Cal opens up as 5.5-point road favorites. That moves to 5. This total is opening at 52, has dropped to 51. Cal opened their season yesterday's Sunday affair, 34-10 loss to UCLA. Oregon State has opened their season with back-to-back losses. First 38-28 at home to Washington State, followed by a 27-21 loss at Washington. Nolly Knows Pac-12 action. Take it away, my man.
Yeah, I got some Pac-12 action here with Cal, and the Cal team that I focus on quite a bit, being that they got a solid defense and really an inability to score points. They get a lot of returners, pretty much every returner back on the offensive side. But, I mean, Chase Garbers only goes 18 of 33 for 122 yards and interception. Really not going to get it done. They were only 4 of 14 for third down and weren't able to get much done. Even their points that they did get, one of them coming off a turnover and the other one off a kick return. They weren't able to punch it in from the 12-yard line on one of them. And they did get a new offensive coordinator, which I expect them to struggle with early in the year. I mean, he comes from the NFL, Bill Musgrave. So I expect his system to be a little bit different. Even when you hear the quarterback talk about it, he says a whole new terminology. He says the plays aren't too complicated, but the terminology is completely different. And I expect that to be an issue with the offense to start the year. I mentioned they get a lot of these starters back, but still a team that only averaged 20.8 points per game. And they rely heavily on their defense. Their defense last year only gave up 22.7 points per game. And here in their last game against UCLA, in the second half, they really made some adjustments and were able to shut things down. Oregon State on their side, for their offense, I'm not too impressed with their offense, albeit they've been able to put up some points, mainly against Washington State. But really in the second half got shut down against Washington. And Christian Gevia, 11 of 24 for 84 yards. And I think he's going to face a tough challenge here against Cal and their DBs. You see last year, Cal loses this game 21-17, a tight battle, priced right about the same, 51.5. Here we're getting about that. I was able to grab 52, but even at 51.5, 51, I still like it. I'm on the under. Some that I'll be riding with Cal quite a bit.
Under for Nolly Knows in Pac-12 action. John Ryan, what are you thinking here? California, Oregon State.
I'm thinking that neither team's going to score more than 27 points in this game. And I was just actually typing into the database to get some queries back for us. But I didn't really find anything. It favors more of Oregon State in a low-scoring affair with both teams scoring less than 27 each. The line is 50.5, I guess 51. So it implies roughly a 27-23 game. And as Nolly said, I can't see how Cal is going to score 27 in this game. So, I might look at this later on in the week and play the under as a lean for now, and we'll leave it at that.
An under. Let's go back to back with Nolly. We have a 4 p.m. Eastern spot here. Sunbelt, Fun Belt. Georgia State Panthers 3-4, 2-4 in the Sun Belt. At South Alabama Jaguars 3-5, 2-3 in the Sun Belt. Mobile, Alabama, gorgeous on Saturday. 76 Fahrenheit, sunny. 8 miles per hour is the wind. Georgia State opens up as minus 2.5 point favorites. That moves to 3. Already see 3.5s on the board. Georgia State coming off an impressive 17-13 loss at App State. South Alabama coming off their third straight loss, 38-10 at the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. They allowed 38 points, but we still hit the under that Nolly gave us in that spot. Nolly Knows, Georgia State, South Alabama. Take it away, my man.
Yeah, you talked about Georgia State. They were able to contend pretty well against Appalachian State. What I talked about a little bit prior, what I believe was a look-ahead game for Appalachian State. But mind you, Georgia State still came and brought the defense. They played really well on the defensive side. But what continues to be an issue for them is Cornelius Brown for their quarterback play. You look at what he was able to do or what he wasn't able to do. He was 11 for 33% for 152 yards. Just really wasn't able to get it done, getting sacked by bunches. And really, I don't really expect him to produce very many points against this South Alabama team that I think is a little better than people might think, giving up 26 points per game. But their defense has done exceptionally well against especially against these totals that they keep giving out. They've averaged a total of 54. A line of 54 in their totals, and they're 7-1 to the under in these totals. And a big part of it I mentioned was their defense and their inability of Desmond Trotter to stay on his feet. He was sacked a total of 13 times in the last 3 games, playing tougher opponents, mind you. But here against Georgia State, I still don't expect South Alabama to really pick up the tempo. They run about 71 plays per game, good for 72nd in the nation. And you look at what the matchup last year, similar total here, 57.5, and the total stays clearly under the number 43 being the total where it gets to. I see Georgia State still pulling off a victory here. I would lean towards Georgia State being the better team, especially South Alabama not being able to pull out the victories. But I like the under quite a bit here, and at 59, I believe.
I think that your look on South Alabama, if that was to come to fruition, is very interesting. Everybody watching what Georgia State and South Alabama did last week is the reason why the market's moving towards Georgia State. I mean, the 3.5 are on the board now, Nolly. I mean, if South Alabama is a 4-point home dog, do you back them?
It's been tough, because they just really haven't been able to. They really haven't been able to get it going on offense. Haven't been able to continue drives and able to close out close games. I thought against Georgia Southern, I watched that game from beginning to end. I thought they were the better team, and they ended up giving it away at the end. And a team that doesn't know how to close it out is tough against a Georgia State team that is significantly older. They got a lot of seniors over there and maybe be able to bounce back after a tough loss against Appalachian State. This is a tough game as sidewise, so I like the total a lot more.
And they benched Trotter this past week, so I don't know who they go back to at this point at quarterback. John Ryan, Nolly loves the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt. Have you looked at this Georgia State, South Alabama spot?
I have, and I support the under, and I'll back them up with a little system here for everybody. You play under with a road team with a posted total of 56 to 62 points in a conference matchup with the one team off a road ATS win and where the team lost as an underdog. So they didn't win the game, but they won the money for us bettors. So that favors the under. It's 69% winners for a 70-30 record. So that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. Backing the under there, and it's nice and high for us. It's open at 59. It's moving down. It's on its way down. It's 58 to hit the board. Okay, we are going to talk about another look for John Ryan, and if Connor's not back. We're going to talk about two more games that I would like to touch on. But this is a John Ryan best bet spot. Michigan 1-3, the Big Ten at Rutgers, exact same record. Piscataway, New Jersey, 51 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, and no wind, 2 miles per hour. Michigan coming off their third straight loss. This one was an embarrassing fashion, 49-11. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse over there. Michigan right now opening up as 8-point favorites, and that moved to 8.5 quite quickly. Rutgers coming off their third straight loss, 23-20 at home to Illinois. John, you've got your eyes on this spot. What are you going to do?
We're going to take Rutgers. I talked about them in the beginning of the year. Their quarterback that came from Nebraska is starting to, feel his way through it. They've had a couple stumbling games here along the way after they knocked off Michigan State at Michigan State in the first week, which was one of my better calls. Michigan State at Michigan again. See, I like hammering myself, Nolly. Like when I make a mistake, I just like bringing it up time and time again. But anyway, Michigan is a team in disarray, and that's a polite word. I need my thesaurus to come up with a better word. But Michigan, before all this problem happened in 2020, is 1-12 against the spread after allowing 17 or more points in the first half of each game, each of the last two games. So again, Michigan's tradition of defense is clearly not here when you have, a team trend working against them in this fashion with that many points scored in the first half. Let's see what other goodies we got here. Strength of schedule is exactly the same, and it should be because of the Big Ten. Is all the teams are pretty close together. I mean, it's just the records that are miles apart. Okay, with the let's see. When Michigan allows more than 22 points and less than 31, which is the area that Rutgers is supposed to score in the machine learning tools, I hate to tell Wolverine fans that they are 12-50 against the spread in that situation. So for that reason alone, I definitely see Rutgers scoring points on this defense. And again, I like to try to be optimistic, but the back end of Michigan's defense is bad. They are prone to deep passes every single time, and play action pass is they try to play that press coverage, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work against Ohio State, and it won't work against some of the skill positions that Rutgers now has. So I think you're going to see Vidral, if I'm pronouncing his name right. I love his style. The quarterback for Rutgers go after some post patterns. You have the crossing route, and then you have the post pattern going behind it, and that's been wide open against Michigan. So I know the world's going to think Michigan's going to be pissed off and they're not going to lose to Rutgers. But how about Rutgers feeling like this is our chance to hit Michigan right in the jaw for all the years they did it to us? So I'm on Rutgers.
What about a Rutgers team total over as well?
Not without looking at it, but I like it. I like the idea because it'll be a game that will be more high scoring than expected. So I like that.
Yeah, I mean it's just a 55-point total with Michigan is 8-point favorites. It's anywhere between 7.5 and 9. But this makes sense to me. I like this. Nolly Knows, what do you think of this Big Ten spot, 7:30 p.m. Saturday night?
I mean, I think it's ugly. Two ugly teams, to be honest. I think Greg Schiano has done a great job, turning the program around from what they've been at with Rutgers. They're playing significantly more physical up front. They're playing really good football, especially compared to where they were at last year. This is a team that got blown out by Michigan 52-0, but by no means is this the same Michigan team here. When I watched the game against Wisconsin for Michigan, they put up the one touchdown, but right after that, get punched right back, give up 2 touchdowns right after that, and it was pretty simple. It looks like they're walking right all over the Michigan defense, giving up over 400 yards of a game. But same thing for Rutgers. Rutgers isn't really shutting anybody down either. I think the number might be a little low at the 55, but when you see Michigan not putting up points, That's what makes it difficult for me. I don't want really any part of this. I'll just be rooting for John Ryan.
Thanks, Nolly.
I did skip one of John's games somehow. I did skip one of his games, LSU Arkansas, that John wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think that was my my underplay, I think, right?
Yeah, did I break that down? Did we break that down?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was just lost my mind there for a second. I was like, I didn't do this, did I? Sorry, my fault. Let's go back there. I did skip it, and it is a 12 p.m. start. LSU, Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, 65 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny. The wind is at 13 miles per hour. LSU opening up as 1-point favorites. That's flipped. Arkansas now 1-point favorites. This total sitting at 65. LSU had their game last week with Alabama postponed due to numerous positive COVID tests. They were last seen receiving a 48-11 beatdown at Auburn. Arkansas coming off that 63-35 loss at Florida. We were all over the over in that one, and we were all over the Florida team total over. And Florida almost covered that game total on its own. Let's talk about this spot. And it's interesting that you are wanting to make a move on it, because I was trying to get more information on what's going on with LSU. Some of these teams with COVID, they just don't want you to know what's going on. I couldn't get information on Air Force. I couldn't get much on LSU. John, SEC battle here, LSU, Arkansas. Take it away.
Well, I wanted to talk about this game because, it's a celebration of Arkansas and their turnaround as well. Even better than the potential turnaround at Rutgers. Arkansas has rounded the corner. And, for example, they're favored, I think you said by 2 points right now, Jimmy? One. Okay, the fact is they're favored. Last year, LSU was a 41-point home favorite. The year before that, minus 13. The year before that, minus 19. And the list goes on and on and on. And I actually should run for the Saturday show and the last time that Arkansas was even favored against LSU, because that might be pretty interesting too. But you are absolutely right. I'm not going to make a move on this game until possibly within an hour of game time on Saturday because of that situation. And I do think LSU is playing it under the sleeve pretty well there and keeping things, contained in terms of any press announcements related to COVID. But these are two totally different teams, just like we saw with Rutgers and Michigan. And I would lean on the under in this game. But let's wait till Saturday, and we'll have a lot more information to share with everybody.
We've got to put a bow on this show pretty quick here. Nolly, is there anything you want to add to LSU Arkansas?
No, I think that's not really a look that I'll be looking at. I think that's with these defenses and what they've been giving up all year. But all these question marks with COVID, it's tough to make a move. You talk about they hold on real tight, and you're gonna find out Saturday morning is when you're gonna find out, and you're gonna be scrambling to figure that out. I don't want any part of these awful defenses.
We have a spot at 3:30 p.m. and it was a Connor Mack best bet. And I like hearing John talk about these Nittany Lions. We also have our man Joe Freed in the chat right now saying that Iowa Hawkeyes best bet material at minus 2.5. This game pops off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and Iowa 2.5-point favorites if you can get them, because they're going to be at 3, and they're at 3 at half the books. They're going to be at 3 across the board in a matter of seconds. University Park, Pennsylvania, 59 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour is the wind. After opening the campaign with 2 losses, Iowa's looked very good in back-to-back weeks. After stopping their losing streak with a 49-7 win at home to Michigan State, they traveled to Minnesota and beat them badly, 35-7. Penn State coming off their 4th straight loss to start the season, 30-23 at Nebraska. Do you have a move that you are looking at, John Ryan, here, Big Ten action?
Again, I think we should wait till Saturday on this game, but this has just been another story of 2020 with Penn State, now a home dog. If this line before the season started would have been 11.5 Penn State favorite. So you are getting a precipitous decline. Like I always used my Wall Street experience. You have a stock that's getting hammered and hammered and hammered, and the price on Penn State gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. That doesn't mean that it's not going to get cheaper in Game 6 and Game 7. There have been teams that have had collapses that have been monumental, and I hope that doesn't happen to Penn State. I did have Iowa in their big win. But again, this could be an overreaction with Iowa's big dominating win and Penn State's trouble in Nebraska this past week. And you know, I heard on some stations on TV, you know, it makes me sick when they say, "Oh, but Penn State came back. They showed courage. They showed, you know, valor." Well, I mean, that's a bunch of crap. You know, the fact is they lost the game. They're 0-4, and they had planned to contend for the Big Ten title. So, and the other thing I'll tell you too is, you know, I've been out to Happy Valley a few times, and that is one enormous stadium, and 111,000 people with nobody there. That's got to be the most difficult thing for a Penn State player to have to do. I can't imagine what it's like, and that's a huge negative too. But for now, let's just wait till Saturday, and I know I'm going to have a play in this game.
And so if it is Iowa, you're going to let those 2.5s go by the wayside, not worry?
Yeah, because I think there'll be Penn State money coming in. I actually see this game at Pick'em when we do our show on Saturday.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's a very exciting call. Very exciting call.
It could be fool's money coming in on Penn State, but we'll have to wait and see.
Whew. Wow. Nolly Knows, anything to add here? A little Big Ten matchup, Iowa, Penn State.
Yeah, this is a team that I like a lot, quite a bit, and what I've liked over the seasons, over the last few years, and that's going to be Iowa. You know, they're under 11 of the last 16 games. I was fortunate enough to pull off the under last week, and I think I'm going to keep continuing riding that trend. Penn State hasn't really shown too much, only averaging 25 points per game, and I think they're going to get shut down. Iowa's defense has looked really good this year, only giving up 112 yards rushing, and they've been able to run the ball, and that's one spot for Penn State that hasn't looked too bad, is only giving up about 130 yards rushing, and I expect it to be a low-scoring game. You look at their matchup last year, it was a 17-12 ball game. I expect the battles not quite that low, but under is a play for me.
Under is a play. We have CMac back in action. We've just gone to the last two games on the card here, and they're your games, CMac. We just spoke on the Iowa Hawkeyes, Penn State Nittany Lions, so perfect timing to be back in action. CMac, we're going to do your game here, and then we're going to move on to Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and then put a bow on this show. CMac, what are you thinking here in this Penn State battle?
Yeah, I like Iowa here. I got it at 2.5, and I get it now. I want the better defense. And Penn State's just horrible. I think the number's small. Penn State kind of reminds me of Minnesota last week, and I was impressed by Iowa's defense. And I think they swallow them up. I think it's a short number. I know they're on the road, but it hasn't mean much playing there in Happy Valley. You know, they're not very good. So I'm on the Iowa Hawkeyes here.
Nolly Knows interested in the under. What do you think of the total?
Yeah, I like the under in every Iowa game. I always look at it. It's always kind of low. So I always, you know what I mean? I don't love it, but I could see a little bit of scoring. I just like Iowa way better than the total.
We know this spot right now is moving in Iowa's direction, and threes are going to be across the board here shortly. But John Ryan thinks there's going to be buyback on Penn State and that we could find this closer to even come Saturday. Do you think that's possible?
Maybe. Yeah, I think there could be a little bit. And I don't see it in Penn State. I mean, yeah, they made a nice little comeback. I guess you want to say that against Nebraska. Nebraska's bad. And I'm fading Penn State, you know, until they show anything. I don't want that side, and I'd rather take a real short number here. Yeah, at least it's on under 3 on Iowa. I want the team with the way better defense here in this spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that when you were out, Connor. I think the mentality and sometimes the mistake that people make is that you see a Penn State that was supposed to be a top 10 team for sure. They're not. They lose 4 in a row to the spread, and then it becomes more of the amateur bet that, well, they're due to cover. They're due to cover. You know, and as we have often said, just because red comes up 10 times in a row in the roulette wheel doesn't mean it's going to come up the 11th time. That's why I was thinking that the buyback might be a little bit more pronounced with Penn State this time around, just because of the huge following that they do have.
Yeah, and I just don't think they can. Yeah, they do have a huge following and all that. And, you know, when I see a team as bad a defense they have, and I don't think their offense is very good either. I mean, it's just
play calling's been crap. I mean, really,
Yeah.
there's no other way to describe it.
it's been bad. So I'm just off them. I think I was good the last few weeks. I just like it at the short number. You know, if it was higher or something weird, but I don't like it at this little short price.
We are going to talk about one more game here, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and then go into our Saturday best bets. We've already gone over our Maction best bets. This game pops off 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Connor Mack has his eye on it. Number 14th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys, 5-1, 4-1 Big 12. At number 18th ranked Oklahoma Sooners, 5-2, 4-2 in the Big 12. Norman, Oklahoma, 66 Fahrenheit showers, 11 miles per hour. We've had beautiful weather on Saturday right across the board. This is the first game where it looks like there's going to be showers that will have to be dealt with. Oklahoma State was off last week. Both teams were off last week. We last saw them in a 2018 win at Kansas State. Let's see what we're dealing with from a market perspective. Oklahoma opening up as 9.5-point favorites at Bet365. That's moved down to 7. Again, we use the licensed books when we talk about market moves, licensed books in America, and Bet365 is very hesitant to put out a number early. Oklahoma off last week. We last saw them winning their 4th straight in the 62-9 beatdown of Kansas at home. Connor Mack, take it away.
Yeah, if this gets under 7, because I've been anti-Oklahoma. They look better. If this gets under 7, I might take the Sooners, so I'm waiting on that. But I think the over is in play here. I think points are scored. I think Oklahoma State has been kind of weird this year. They've been under. But I think Oklahoma scores in bunches, and I don't think Oklahoma's defense is that good. I think Oklahoma State can score, so I'm on the over 59.5.
CMac on the over 59.5.
If this was last year or all these years before, these totals are in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, so I'm just seeing it a little bit of value. I think some points are scored in it. We'll see.
And if it gets under, if you see a minus 6.5, you move on the Sooners.
I might move on the Sooners if I'm gonna wait and see. I wait on that till the weekend.
John Ryan, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma.
Well, I'll give you a simple system here on Oklahoma because I think that is the correct side here. They've covered 4 in a row. They've won 4 in a row after losing the first 2, and this is essentially puts Oklahoma back in contention for the Big 12. They would have the tiebreaker over Oklahoma State, so hard to go against them. But you play on a home team in a conference matchup after 2 straight covers as double-digit favorites. So with that said, and my power ratings have Oklahoma as a 15-point favorite in this situation, but that also 15 points that includes normal situations with fans. So maybe 12, maybe 11. So it's pretty close to where it should be. But the supporting system is pretty strong here. So I think that's the side to be on.
Oklahoma Sooners. Interesting. Nolly Knows, final thoughts on this spot in the Big 12.
I mean, you mentioned Oklahoma kind of turning a leaf ever since they go against Texas. They're really putting up points in bunches, putting up 62 points in the last 2 games each. And that's the one thing when I look at when you talk about totals that's a concern. Their offense putting up points that fast. Oklahoma State's defense has been better than what you think about when you talk about those totals being that high, but the defense isn't as good as what 17.8 points against might indicate. They haven't really played a high potent offense. Gave up 41 points to Texas. I expect that more so that type of game, 41-34, more so that type of game in here. So I agree with the total going over, and you gotta side with Oklahoma. They look significantly better right now. They're really clicking 4 in a row against the spread. I agree with both of them.
Very interesting. And Big Ragu says Oklahoma State was his Big 12 championship pick early on. It's time. So he liking the Cowboys there. Great job. What a great job by you guys breaking down all these games. It is a treat to hear these looks and hear your great insights. We have best bets from the Maction. John was on Ball State minus 14. Nolly Akron under 59.5. And CMac moved on Buffalo. We're going to go in the opposite direction, starting with CMac here for Saturday best bets. CMac, Saturday, best bet. Take it away.
Just give me Iowa and the 2.5.
Iowa minus 2.5. Nolly Knows, Saturday best bet.
Georgia State, South Alabama under 59.
Georgia State.
I like that.
Under 59. And John, Saturday best bet.
Under in the Coastal Carolina game.
Coastal Carolina. So even at that, we talked that move to 48.5, and no fear there, John?
Nope. I think it's this way, Jimmy. I'm a little bit older than you guys, and sometimes, when I'm right, I'm going to win by more than a point and a half. Over the course of a season, you sometimes get screwed by the hook, but sometimes you get bailed out by the hook. But over time, it evens out. So I'm okay with that.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you, guys. We have no show without you great cappers in the audience. Thank you for rolling with us. Robert Allen, the Czar, Gerald Martinez, Nathan Cerna, Big Ragu, who can be seen here live on our Saturday show at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we had a monster day on Saturday. Joe Free, Austin Gunning in the house, Cash Action Bets. He's on Oklahoma State as well. Nathan Cerna, Jose Pompa, Levi Kressler. Levi saying, I've been to every Penn State game, home and away, the last handful of years. This is a rough-looking team right now. We had Bloodthirsty MMA joining us, Jared Nichols, all you guys. Thank you so much. Sonny Griffin, thank you guys for the support. And CMac, Nolly Knows, John Ryan, it's a long show. Thank you guys for all your insights and humor and good times. I enjoy this immensely. On behalf of CMac, follow him on Twitter at Connor Mac Picks. Follow our man Nolly Knows on Twitter at Nolly562. And John Ryan, follow him on Twitter at John Ryan Sports 1. Thank you guys so much for your insights. Thank you guys in the chat for giving us all this energy and making this show so much fun. Let's get paid. Felt really good on Saturday, man. And I want more. Thank you guys for watching odds.com. Have a big week. And good luck on the Monday Nighter tonight. Be well.